about to get started. Hit those likes, everybody. Let everybody know we're here, and I'm about to bring in Cliff. Give me 1 second. There he is. I see him. All right. Right, I think we are getting close. We're up on Instagram. All good. Say hello, somebody on Instagram. Say hello. Give it a thumbs up or whatever the hell happens on Instagram. What happens on Instagram? Do people like it? Do they love it? Do they push it? Do they pull it? Do they slap it and tickle it? What happens? What is the Instagram way? Stand by your social media. Also, Blue Sky. Up live streaming on Blue Sky, just in my own account. And yeah, that's it. Oh. Good morning. How are you? Happy Monday, if that's a phrase people are even allowed to say. I don't quite know. I'm Hal Sparks, host of Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. This is the morning show where we get deep undercover into some of the issues, and we have sort of the breadth and room to talk about them more than a 7-minute segment on a radio or TV show. See, that's what most people have to deal with, but not our guest today, starting, if I may, with the great Cliff Schecter joining us from the Ohio Valley, the tri-state area, which is an area they call anywhere 3 states join where they have a city nearby. Oftentimes, one big city split between 3 states because border corners used to be a big thing.
Yeah, you know, Hal, it seems like I'm always in the tri-state area. I grew up in New York City. I hear that phrase all the time,
right.
Like Jersey and Connecticut. And then, you know, my wife's from here, ended up here, and I started hearing tri-state area again. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Oh, right, Indiana and Kentucky.
Yep. And Ohio, like, and around the Louisville kind of area, especially, it's where this kind of conjoined area, and that has a lot to do with interstate commerce, something the incoming administration seems to know very little about. Now, I have to go.
Are they going to put tariffs on that too?
Yeah, they're gonna tariff. Only on
interstate commerce, I think.
Only on necessary medications for women. Right. Yeah. That's the only tariff. And hi, chat room. Welcome. So, can we start with Besant real quick, who's been added? I don't know if people know this. Who was not Elon Musk's choice for Treasury Secretary. He wanted Lutnick. He put him in charge of, I think, laundering money, but not actually, making sure enough is printed. And Treasury Secretary is this guy, Besant, and he is gay, married, 2 kids, and used to work for George Soros. He's had 2 big jobs, and the biggest one was he used to work for George Soros. And to Glenn Beck and Alex Jones and all that crowd, I don't want to fucking hear it. If anything doesn't go Trump's way, I don't want you saying there's a mole that used to work for George Soros in the Treasury Secretary, and he will not allow him to do what he needs to do to make America great again. I don't want to hear it. He picked him. Oh, and you know what? I'm fine with him picking him because he's the least of our worries as far as lunatics go. And it was a sensible choice. You could tell he got a lot of high pressure phone calls to not put a lunatic in that position.
Well, I would say to you, Hal, if we can,
Yeah.
We should go, and again, as I've talked about again and again, play up those divisions. So you've got all these
Yep.
sort of MAGA folks showing up to mock us and whatever.
Oh,
I'm just telling you,
yeah.
have fun with them. Be like, George
Yeah.
Soros is controlling your treasury.
Yeah.
We own your treasury, and just freak them all out. Because it will.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
not?
and I think now is the best time to start planting the idea that all these former Democrats, these alleged former Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. are still working for us, because raw milk sounds like a bunch of hippy dippy baloney. I would just like to say, yeah,
they're part of the deep state, man. They're all part of the deep state.
they absolutely are.
And it's a little deeper in RFK Jr.'s case, because sometimes, when they're looking for him, he hides inside of a whale's head. But
That's
otherwise, it's a regular deep state. Yeah, right. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, honestly, him and Jonah both lived inside the mouth of a whale.
That's right, and we learned so much. Right.
We did. I'm just saying, the things I've been bringing up to people again, and why I've been just saying, let them fight. It's pretty simple. So this guy, I have to learn more about Besant, because I've been paying attention to some of the other ones. But
Sure.
I think you look at for the weak areas and remember who the strong lobbies are in D.C., and that's how you get them. Hegseth with his little Aryan tattoo. Maybe people should reach out to AIPAC and see what AIPAC thinks about that, considering they have a lot of influence on the Republican side. RFK Jr. wanting to stop
AIPAC,
research into
AIPAC is not going to. Yeah, real quick. AIPAC is not going to have a problem with the Crusader tattoos. Let me be abundantly clear. And the Crusader tattoos that dude has are macho bullshit that he got because his unit was Charlie Company used to call him Kill Company. The idea was that they had this kind of fantastical belief. They have as dumb an idea of what the Crusades were as the average American, but more violent. And so,
well, maybe it won't. That can't stop him, and maybe it needs to be. There's a lot of stuff there on him in various areas. He's just a rapey McScumbag, and I think it's like, if anything, the way they used to go, Russia, Russia, Russia. Our response should be rapey, rapey, rapey. What is the deal with him and Hegseth, Trump, Hegseth, and RFK Jr.? We originally had Matt Gaetz in that, so we could say it 4 times, but he's been punted. Well, let me give you this. Here's one that I am quite sure of. Okay.
Yeah.
RFK Jr. is sitting there saying, we're not going to, no more research, development, any of that into infectious diseases for 8 years. Okay. He's saying people, not that they would do this, I don't think, but people who take Adderall, it's overprescribed. Those people should be put in camps. And you need to stop taking this and stop doing that. Guess what? There's this enormous lobby known as Big Pharma. And they don't lose most of the time. It took us 30 years just to get the common sense ability to have Medicare negotiate prices for prescription drugs. So Farmer, I'm sure, knows all of his beliefs. They own McConnell, and go look up. They'd spent $26 million on lobbying last year. They own McConnell. They own Ted Cruz. They own a bunch of them. I wouldn't worry about RFK Jr., folks. If you think Pharma is going to let their cash cow be threatened by this guy, you should just wait and see what they do. If you saw what they did to fight universal health care, wait till you see what they do to fight him.
It's bad when Rand Paul has come out as the voice of reason on 2 topics already. One, he's against tariffs, and he's against using the military to round people up on our streets, and pointed out that it is indeed illegal and an incredibly slippery slope. If a president can just declare any kind of emergency they want out of their ass, pull the military up, and start gathering people up, like that precedent alone, the idea that doesn't make the Alex Joneses of the world's heads pop off means that they were frauds to start with, right? They never believed what they were saying, because they're excited that the guy who wants to put a chip in 2 billion people's brains is whispering in the ear of a guy who barely has any brains left. Can I show you a picture that
brain chips floating around?
What is happening here, Cliff? I don't know.
That can't be real. I can't believe that's like a Tussauds museum kind of thing.
Yeah, this is him hanging out at the rocket launch, and I don't know what the hell is going on with the front of his face. Like,
did they paint it? Like, not even like at this point,
So-
makeup. Did they actually put a paintbrush?
Right. He looks like I don't know, like he tripped and fell into the bronzer, but he does this thing where he doesn't wait until his makeup sets and he eats something and then he wipes his mouth. And you can see he does. He's such a fucking moron. You could see it, and it's so gross. It's like, look, in some areas of this country, and I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but and I'm sorry I don't have the nunt warning up on this particular one. I should have had it up, and I apologize. If you grow up where I grew up, there redneck girls who have a really hard jawline for their makeup is a tell of what area you're in, county versus town, right? And at the state fairs, you'll see a lot of girls with like hard makeup lines right at the jawline. No blending is allowed. And this is an equivalent of that. The whole like wiped your mouth and never bothered to spray past here, because this looks like he did it himself. You know what it looks like? I'd love to see what his hands look like, because it looks like he took self-tanner and thought it was soap and went like this, and we're just seeing the parts of his face he misses. And his eyes are so, like, pinched the whole time, like he's asleep.
That's what I'm saying. That does not look human. People kept coming up with the fake Melania. Like, I have to feel like that's a fake Donald Trump. Like
that's what everybody thought.
That was a big... They're testing out.
Yeah, this is the Trump Borg. It's funny. It looks like an impersonator. It's very odd.
Maybe it is. I mean, again, I could see these guys doing anything, right? Like, there's nothing at this point. They don't care. So why not? If he didn't want to be there that day, he may have said, "Look, if I have a second term, I want to lie in bed eating, cheese doodles and watching Fox and Friends on a loop, and every once in a while sneaking out to play golf. I mean, more than once in a while. So." We need to come up with a couple fake Trumps that can go and do, pretend they're doing the actual work, so I can be lazy. So I believe it fully. So
I think he liked having the job. He hated doing the job, and that's
right. He likes being called Mr. President. That's
right. He doesn't even like being called Mr. President. He likes being called President. Have you ever seen it? And that's one of the reasons why Pam Bondi is going to be the AG, is because if you watch those old videos of him at the thing where he farted on Dianne Feinstein, and he was talking to Pam Bondi because it was about the school shooting that had happened in Florida, and they were talking about gun stuff. She calls him President, not Mr. President, just President.
Right. President. He must love that. I'm sure at some point in the situation, he'll probably have an affair with her because, of course, it's them. It's Republican. They do that kind of thing. And Laura Loomer's not around anymore. So, you got to...
Yeah, she is. She just can't... She couldn't ride on the plane. They kept her on the down low. She's not going to be in the White House. She's going to be at Mar-a-Lago. So she'll be the side piece.
Vacation spots. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, in the end, with all these folks, I mean, again, I've been realistic from the start with this. I said to everybody, do not waste time and effort with Gates. I gave my take. Do the Animal House thing at the end of the movie where they get up and they walk out and they refuse to listen to the judgment of their fraternity. Maybe, hum My Country 'Tis of Thee just for fun, and go outside and get in front of a microphone and say, this is not a serious choice. This is somebody with zero experience, zero allies, has serious allegations of sexual misconduct against him that are being investigated. And we're not going to waste our time. Let Republicans, you wanted President Trump? You got him. You figure it out. I do the same thing with RFK and Tulsi, because I'll tell you, Tulsi also has talked about no arms for Israel, no arms for Japan to protect itself against China, no arms for Saudi Arabia, no arms for Ukraine. Now, I'm not saying some of those are bad, Ukraine. I'm not saying all of them are good or bad. What I'm saying to you is there's these people known as the defense industry, and they spend wrath of God money to lobby. I'm sorry, they make wrath of God money, and they lobby to make that money. If you think they're going to let Tulsi come in and kill their cash cow, kind of like pharma, and let them eat their own, as they're already doing. You brought up Rand Paul. Let Rand Paul fight with them. Let McConnell fight with Trump, and just let them all fight.
Right. And also, even in the, because I've always had this thing about like the military industrial complex and big pharma and big tech and big anything. Now the administration has come up with big farm. Like they're literally trying, and this is them trying, like what they mean is big agribusiness, but it doesn't sound dumb enough for their followers to get it. So he wants big farm and big pharma, and blah blah blah. Anyways, point being,
those are two words, and it's very hard for them to get.
They have an incredibly. The reason none of those work for me is because there used to be a point where you could say the military industrial complex was two companies. It was effectively Lockheed Martin and Boeing.
Yeah.
And there was no one else, right? And now there are 9 major military contractors we pull from that have, the kind of top secret clearance level that Boeing and maybe McDonnell Douglas would be in there slightly because they worked with Boeing on the initial planes and stuff.
Whatever the horror of 9/11, which we would agree on, that was their Christmas. That was when it all opened up and that industry exploded.
Now there's this company called Palantir, and Palantir is the new wave of defense. They are going to they're the AI super tech. I don't know. I know he's one of the investors.
He's involved with it somehow.
He's involved. He's seed moneying through YC or whatever their investment company. They invest a little bit in everything. They're doing this kind of grab bag thing. So his name will be all over shit. But so is Warren Buffett's. Berkshire Hathaway. They put a little bit in these things as well. So a bunch of these folks dump into this YC venture capitalist group, and then they did Uber and they did Lyft. You know what I mean? They don't know which one's going to work because nobody can tell because all this stock shit is moving so fast as far as tech things, and so they dump into it. So yes, they're in Palantir, but not in a controlling sense to the point where they get a controller for our military stuff. But it is its stock, Palantir's stock, hit a record high because of this idea that they think it's we're moving from the age of big tanks and that kind of stuff to small drones and that. And partly they're right. Doesn't mean the other stuff's going to go away. It means we're going to have an all of the above kind of situation, and that stuff has to be tested and deployed. It's also our allies are going to call for it because it will be the cheapest stuff. You don't have to sending an F-16 or 700X Inviso bomber plane that is only on the menu for Israel and a couple other countries isn't going to happen. But the drone stuff and what's effectively the Iron Dome-ish kind of material we're going to work on is available to our allies and stuff, and they're going to ask for it. And then Tulsi Gabbard or somebody around them is going to say no, and then a bunch of people are going to die, and that country, because they're not afraid of Donald Trump because he's not helping, is going to say, we asked for it, and she specifically said no, even though the Congress said yes. Because we already
that's why I don't think she's going to make it. I mean, when you combine the two things, right? And again, everybody needs to remember here: enemy of my enemy is my friend. In some cases, I can't stand big pharma, but if they can stop Robert Kennedy Jr., absolutely awesome. I can't stand the defense industry guys, but if they can help stop. So when you combine that, Lisa Murkowski has said she needs FBI vetting on everybody. And once she gets any FBI vetting, if she sticks with that on Tulsi Gabbard, she's going to probably in horror scream and run.
Right. Yeah.
Then if we were Republicans, and
she's already got a file.
I'm going to throw this out there for you.
Yeah.
What we should do. If everybody here wants to hearken back to, I don't remember when it was now, decade and a half, because everybody wants to act like it just changed after Trump, and they haven't become an increasingly fascist party. It was 2008, I believe, with Obama, because they didn't want Obama to have 60 votes. So Franken beat Coleman, but it was close enough that Coleman dragged it out for 6 or 9 months with lawsuits. Okay? That is what Bob Casey should do now. It is close enough in Pennsylvania, drag it out so there's no senators sitting there, and then they have a lesser majority. They don't have 53. They've, in the end, they've got 52. And then if you get Lisa Murkowski off, and if you can get shocked face Susan Collins off of there, they're suddenly in a lot of trouble, right? Yeah. And suddenly all you need is 1 or 2 people that look at that stuff, the Tulsi stuff, and or owned by the defense industry, and you got your people. We can actually hold that majority down and defeat them if we're willing to play this game the way it should be played. And there are some like Biondi and Marco Rubio, whatever, that you won't like, but just, Bellant, let them go, because they're not the ones who are worth picking the fights with.
Yeah. So there are a couple of very standout moments that paint the picture that you're talking about, where it's not going to be the walk that Trump and his crowd think. And part of what they're going to need to do is sell this idea that it was a landslide. It was by no means a landslide. By the end of it'll be the smallest margin any president has won by in the popular vote, 1.5%, something along those lines by the time they're done counting. If at some point
it may even be below. I think it's pretty close to 1.5. I think it may get down to about 1.3. They still have, what was that? What did I see? Like a lot, 2 million something votes. I mean, there's a lot in California still. So they're going to lose those 60-40 likely. So.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's more than that, and people went for, either senator or congressperson in those areas, because there are a lot of red Congress people in those areas, you may find that ultimately they went, either they didn't vote for president or they went for Harris or something like that. So it may go even further than that. And we may end up in a situation where, if there are recounts in certain areas related to all kinds of stuff, he could be underwater. Point being is it's not a runaway. And the senators know it because they all run a race. The House people are always running, so they don't even get a breath to realize whether you won by a lot or a little. It doesn't matter. In the House, you can squeak by and you claim you won hands down.
Now too, that we might, coming in, have a 1-seat majority, because he's picked enough. Gates is gone. They've picked enough House members. Stefanik will make it. There's one or two others. I can't think of who they are right now. And it's looking like they either will tie, end up with the exact number as before, or they'll have lost 1 seat, is what it's looking like. So if they lose 4 more people, like, we're going to be in a situation where we're either tied or we're up. I mean, hell, if we're up a seat, we should just declare Hakeem Jeffries the speaker right then for a week or two and literally do everything that we can do.
Yeah, agreed.
But again,
I would argue there's a value in letting them think they've caught the car for quite some time, even if it's that small margin, and let them fight amongst their own, because Democrats will vote lockstep against a bunch of this stuff.
No, you're right. That's a great point.
Powell, nobody says Gates is not gone. He won his election to come back next year. No, he can't. If you resign from the Congress, even though he won that seat, he effectively resigned fully. So resigned. He said
he's not coming back.
He's not coming back.
They were trying to have a fight. He does not want to come back. He's not.
And if he comes back, that restarts that whole argument they have about you can't release the ethics report, goes in the fucking toilet. And of course you can.
The report comes out if he goes.
It has to come out. He's not coming back. And this idea that he's going to run for governor is also horseshit in Florida.
I wish he would. Good, nominate him. Then we'll actually have a chance at winning in Florida.
Right. Exactly. Because he'll be the number of times is like his. Literally, his lieutenant governor should have been Joel Greenberg, and so that will be the running conversation. There will be a woman
coming out probably for every day of the year of that campaign. If they wanted to, they'll have a new woman. I mean, he's not. I wish I would. His father, maybe I'd give him a donation if he'd run. But
his father is, who's like a staple in Florida politics. Has basically advised him to disappear and go into the Peter Thiel venture capital world and be a lawyer for those guys. Go make a bunch of money. You made your point. And then maybe when you're old, you can come back and people will have forgotten this because you have gray hair and you don't look like you anymore. Like that's the advice his dad is more than likely giving him right now.
Because we saw some of the Iran-Contra folks rehabilitated by the time, Bush the Younger got in. He put a bunch of those guys in that in the couple of years after that, in a different America, would have had no chance of serving.
Bill Barr's father gave Jeffrey Epstein his first job working at a girls' school teaching science, and he had no qualifications to do it. He just decided this guy really needs to be hanging around high school girls.
I'm sure there was no reason why he made that decision. There's nothing going on.
No leverage. Absolutely no. At that point, no slides. It would have been an 8mm film.
I'm just saying, like in the end, and Gates could always just go. Look, he's rich to begin with. His dad also is a big real estate developer. He can just go be a lawyer there and do nothing.
Exactly.
So he's not coming back for a while.
Nope, he is not. And thank God. The problem is he'll still be a violent sex pest out in the world because that type of stuff never changes. So,
well, I'm hoping that there's an independent actual investigation done by, real people, maybe people that actually care, whether it's in the state or whether it's federally or anywhere. And maybe he'll actually have to pay for his alleged crimes, but I guess we don't know that.
Well, and the other thing is Georgia has as much a stake in this as Florida does because he flew that girl to Florida or from Florida to Georgia using a fake ID that Greenberg made. Yes. So that's where the crime was effectively committed. So, I mean, he transported her for it, but she was on drugs and they had sex in Georgia as well as back in Florida. That's the story as we know it, allegedly. So
the point being, you got it right. And because I was thinking we should grab the majority and do a bunch of stuff, but it won't get through. And again, to me, part of the sort of Democrats need to play like Republicans. We need to fight as hard for the truth as they fight for lies. And that to me is every way that you can make sure their majority is less so they're at each other's throats. Because even in the House, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert hate each other. Like, there's so many of these divides among the crazies who all hate each other because they're all have personality disorders of various
that's exactly
sorts.
What's happening. Yeah.
Right. And the same in the Senate. So get their majority as low as you can. And that's what I'm saying. And what it saddens me because I don't think he'll do it because, again, we never do what they do. But Bob Casey should do every lawsuit in the world and draw out that recount in Pennsylvania for 8 months the way Coleman did in Minnesota. And that way they would literally, instead of having 53 seats, they'd have 52 seats. And it will be that much tougher for them to get anything done in the Senate. Right.
There is it's kind of fascinating that, like, there, I think it was in Bloomberg today. I was looking for it right now. There's an article I read this morning about that basically makes the case, and this is my wording, not theirs, but you can get this inference from there, is that Trump is about to get the Biden treatment, which is Biden never got a holiday as he was doing all this stuff. He was expected to be bipartisan. He was expected to do all these things, but everything he did was, he got negative blowback from his own side about it. And our side, of course, was not there to, a bunch of us were pushing for him and pulling for him, but there were a bunch on our side that were, slicing with razors every chance they got, and then they're at the end of it, they're like, I wonder why Death of a Thousand Cuts had an impact on the ticket, right? And they're all holding bloody razors and going, what, me worry? And in this particular case, Trump is himself. First of all, he's ragged and worn out, and you can tell. And if that was a dummy that filled in for him at the thing, that's very telling. If it isn't, he looks like baked shit.
I honestly don't know that he will be with us in a year from now.
I agree. And the stress of this, he is not.
Turn that into something that is an objective comment about a man who doesn't exercise, eats like a child, doesn't sleep, rage tweets, is enraged all the time. He has pretty much every health risk factor for heart disease and a heart attack.
Yeah, so and rumors of ischemic strokes and all kinds of stuff like that. And like I said, because it's a cult of personality, if he drops dead, everybody's going to be pointing the finger, and it'll be their JFK. Even if he just keels over, which is what'll happen. I don't wish it on him, but I mean, in all seriousness,
I'm not saying this is not a. Oh, I hope this is a.
Nope.
It's just like him to live a long
assessment
life
of reality.
In
right.
I'd like him to live a long life in prison and suffer in prison. That is much less likely, I think, now to happen. It is more likely that one day he'll be eating one of his triple hamburgers, with like a pile of mayo on it, and some chocolate syrup or ketchup or whatever the hell. And he'll
3 Big Macs, 2 fish delights is what he calls a Filet-O-Fish, and a chocolate shake and a giant Diet Coke. And it's fucked up.
And
the worst part,
sort of like what do you call it, artery will finally be clogged.
Geez, well, here's the thing: the Diet Coke's the worst part of it. because it's got, phenylalanines or whatever, and that'll mess with your nervous system. And if you're old and you do Adderall and shit like that, your nervous system is already keyed up anyways. And you're effectively just sweeping the leg with a Diet Coke. And he drinks like 13 of them a day.
That's the key, right? Because I'm somebody who I just had one. I have Diet Cokes here and there, like not constantly, but I have them here and there as a treat. The dudes having 10 to 15 of them a day.
Right.
I mean, that's
insane.
That's not good for you.
No, it's absurd. And again, what happens when he keels over? And when it happens? If it's Jesus Christ, if he doesn't make it till spring, what the fuck? Effectively, JD Vance becomes a lame duck for 3 years because nobody's going to think that he's the voice of MAGA going forward, and MAGA's going to scream for
him. He can't even order a donut. He's not. I mean, again, there's such a lack of charisma among all the people around Trump. And again, I say it again, I've never understood Trump's charisma, but I do understand it's there. That he has this appeal to his people, to his scummy people who buy into his nastiness, his jokes, that he laughs at it all and whatever. Have you ever seen like some of those other characters even smile? I mean, it ain't going to be Tim Cotton. It ain't going to be Ted Cruz. Elon Musk can't hold on a basic conversation with people. JD Vance can't order donuts. Like, these are not people that have EQs in a positive range, okay?
Right.
They're done.
And here's what they're afraid of. Here's what they're afraid of. Let me show you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of this guy. So this is John Thune. This is the new Senate Majority Leader. And this dude is 6'13". I don't know how tall he is. He's fucking huge. It's hilarious. He's not thick, but he's just and he's not thin. He's just a tall dude. He's like an extraordinary. Look at him whenever they're filming. He's like Lurch in the background. He's like keeps his head down.
In professional basketball, like you see those pictures of the 50s and 60s, where of course they only let white guys play. He would have been like one of those skinny white centers, is what he would have been.
Yeah, who just stands there and does this and just tips the ball in because he's tall enough to like lay his hand on the rim.
He's tall enough, and there's no such thing as like Shaquille O'Neal. Break him in half. Right.
Yeah, see, he's 6'3" with the afro, 6'9". Pretty good dribbler.
Nice flex.
Makes the ball through the legs. Yeah, well, Moon Girl threw that in there as well. 6'13" with the afro.
Yeah, quoting from the movie. I'm going to try not to.
Oh yeah, I understand. It's an issue, and it always has been in terms of my show because we have a deep and abiding love. The first ChatGPT I made was called Fletch, and it has.
There was a long period of time that was my favorite movie, and I would still say it's just about my favorite comedy.
I put it on.
It's just too good.
It's like a comfort film. There's a few movies that I put on that are comfort films, and
River.
That's got to be
the whole
line.
Doc.
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
All right. So here's the thing with John Thune. Okay. There's a lot of reasons why they didn't want him to be the guy, besides the fact that he's an institutionalist and he's an old school Republican, and he'll go along with Trump on the things that Trump is borrowing from the Heritage Foundation, but he's not ready to go with the Federalist Society because there's a reason why the Federalist Party doesn't exist anymore, because everything they tried was unconstitutional, monarchical, and they got kicked to the fucking curb like the Whigs. And you can argue that both parties kind of salvaged chunks from those fallen parties, Democrats from the Whig Party and Republicans from the Federalist Party, and kind of, clayed their party back together and then cooked it, and that's what we've got today. So, but Thune is is an old school, you could tell this asshole thinks he's going to be president one day, and whether he is going to or not, everybody else does because he's tall and he looks like an astronaut, and it scares the shit out of Trump. And one of the reasons
there were rumors of him running in 20, and he in the end did not, but there were
exactly. And the same thing is true of here's the thing. Those meetings where Trump has to meet with the leaders of his party and and they film it and they're sitting around or whatever, or he'll meet with the Senate Majority Leader in the office in the Oval Office, and those two little chairs and do their glad handing. Thune is going to make him look like a dwarf. And that's
what they should do?
Yeah.
Bring in Barron Trump, too, so they both can stand over Donald Trump and just
like
make
pillars.
him look like a midget.
Absolutely. Yeah. He'll have Barron relaying messages to him. Carry this over to the giant man in the corner. Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this is John Thune. This is the new Senate Republican. He's the Senate leader. He's the Senate Majority Leader. And
He's a McConnell ally, and he beat Rick Scott, the MAGA choice, because, again, people were like, Trump's going to control the Senate. I'm like, you got to know. You have to have studied this stuff. You have to pay attention to this stuff. You got to get the fault lines. Mitch McConnell spent years building a dirty money machine from corporations. He's the one who fought to get Citizens United passed and the various laws after that got rid of contributions overall, got rid of contribution limits. And in the end, a lot of these folks owe him their jobs because he got them elected. So McConnell has handed that over to Thune. So Thune actually does have can put the brakes on stuff there.
Right. And he was the minority whip that got the votes together to get stuff really passed. Now, think about it. Like, being the majority whip is one thing. It's not as hard. Sometimes you have some scragglers like Rand Paul that you got to lash into control. But if you've got control of the place, it's a lot easier. If you've got to marshal what votes to stop something or to make sure something passes if it's a must pass, that's work, and he's good at it. And so he was Mitch McConnell's Senate minority whip, and they just moved him up like regular order of business. This is not a maggot takeover of the Senate by any means. This is a Pez dispenser.
They stopped Rick Scott, who was the MAGA choice,
who only got 13 votes. Got the lowest number of votes of anybody. Thune ran away with it. And that's because the dude's been whipping votes the whole time. Right. Minority whip, 3 minority whips. Right. Thanks, Spherical Man in the chat. So they're afraid of that guy standing next to Trump looking young and virile and tall and whatever compared to Trump, which almost everyone does. Right. And will not acquiesce because that dude's term starts on the 25th as the Senate Majority Leader, but I don't think his office is up for 4 years. Or he might have just been reelected. Either way, they all have...
I think Thune may have just been reelected. I could be wrong, but I think so.
I think, he's the Majority Whip for the 2021. It doesn't... I don't have it in here as far as when he's up for reelection next. I suppose he's held minority whip since 2021.
Could be wrong. I don't know.
But he might have just gotten a 6-year term. Point being is that every Republican that got elected this time around, Republicans, especially the ones that are new and put them over the line, have a term that lasts 2 years longer than the president. And so they are going to have to answer to their constituency for another half a term of whoever's president next. And they know this. And so they're not going to act in accordance with this dude and just throw it his direction, hoping that there'll be this like MAGA secondary way. Forget everything they know about tariffs. Forget everything they know about foreign relations. Forget everything they know about how actual government fucking works. Let's just throw it all to Elon Musk whispering in Trump's ear like nerd Rasputin. And
Vivek Ramaswamy too.
Who by the way is so stupid. He's using the same language that Javier Milei is using. That I'm going to take a chainsaw at everything. Remember Javier Milei running around with the chainsaw?
Yeah, the one from Argentina. Like, he can't come up with his own shtick, apparently. He's got to steal that guy's.
And
he's such a little tool, I swear.
Yeah. Oh, so pathetic. And again, Doge is not a thing. It's Coj. It's a committee, and it's simply lobbying. They are not hired. They are not members of the government. They do not work. It is not an actual department. He is not an official advisor. So therefore, whenever he comes and goes from the White House, it will be logged differently than everybody who works there. So will Ramaswamy. They can't just hang around the fucking area without it being, their investments coming into question. You can't have a shadow cabinet that way. That we've done this before. And so again, it's going to be he's going to be doing a lot of remote work, and it's just going to be lobbying. He's just going to call people, and allegedly, this is what Elon Musk is telling people. He's telling people that he will have a direct line to the people Trump puts in charge of these departments to get these cuts made without having to talk to Trump about it. which is fucking stupid because, again,
of course.
And again, on our side, all we have to do is remind Trump of that and maggots of that all the time. Just,
exactly right.
Shadow president running everything. Elon Musk.
They're going to love
hand up
all
his ass.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And throw around
Trump already hates it.
Right. Throw around conspiracy kind of stuff, secret meetings, deep state, blah, 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 and they'll blow their spadoinkles as they do.
Yes, exactly. So, by the way, you're watching House Marks Mornings Megaworldwide. This is our Monday edition with Cliff Schecter, who hosts Cliff's Edge on his YouTube channel. It's Cliff's_Edge. He's also Cliff Schecter on Blue Sky. I have shut down, as of Friday, actually as of Saturday morning, my Twitter is no more. It is deactivated so that no one can take my name and use it on there, which is the hard part, I think, for a lot of people, is that you don't want somebody to start just borrowing your name because you no longer have it on there. Although supposedly the imposter rule is still in place. And maybe lawsuits could occur if somebody was impersonating you on that site without your permission, right? That's still fraud, right? It still is, right? It will be. And so if they're legitimately trying to do it,
and they're pretending to be you, you'd think they're defaming you in a manner of speaking.
Yep. Yeah, and again, if Trump gets rid of the Section 230 stuff that he's threatening to do, Twitter is doomed. Blue Sky is not, because Blue Sky is built on an open architecture, so it has no editorial ability of its own. It is up to you, right? What you block and what you don't block, and you have more control over your algorithm because you create feeds for yourself. So there is no situation where they can downplay a story or upplay a story. That's up to you. You get to do that. And you can do it by following people that you trust, and they create lists or groups of people to block or dump or whatever, or to warn you about stories. But it's not the same thing as the company doing it. There's only like 20 people, and it's a woman-run company. So that makes it even more irritating to maggots. And again, I would like to remind everybody that
that's actually a fun part of it.
It's pretty great. And if maggots come over and start fights and do a bunch of trolling and whatever, it's easier to block them there permanently, and don't give it a second thought. Just dump them wholesale if they're just there to start a fight.
The beauty of the ability to block anybody with MAGA or Trump 2024 in their bio is just a wonderful thing.
And if they do come over to Blue Sky and shout into the wind and do whatever, that is still interactions that are not happening on Twitter, and drives down the interactions enough to where that will affect the ability for him to sell ads. So and that's what we need to do. So the exodus is real and must happen. I know there are some hardliners who are riding both sides of the fence. To them, I would say, fuck it. Please move on. You can, if you want to create a dummy account just for looking, fine, but it should effectively be your own sock puppet account that is not your big name account. If you're one of these people like Aaron Rupar or somebody who posts video chunks and that kind of thing, get off, because that is one of the primary fight points. Malcolm Nance is still on there. Stephanie Miller is still on there, and they have to go. We got to put pressure on everybody to bail.
On there, but I'm in the process of getting my data and doing. It's taking like forever. So I'm not going to.
They're slowing the process. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there is it's sort of crucial that everybody denies the interaction, which is the bread and butter of social media, to X, whether it's through, radio silence. The problem with dead accounts is, especially if you're very politically active, is that somebody can go back and grab one of your old tweets and boost it and start yelling at you about something you posted a year ago, and it still counts as interaction, even if bots go do it. So they can set bots up to farm shit that was controversial in your feed, which there's plenty of that in mine. I'm sure there's plenty of that in yours. And if it's still an active feed, they can go look through it and create these fake fights, and your account is real, so their account doesn't have to be. And he goes over and shows them this booklet and goes, look at all this fighting. Even if it's half bots, these people are really engaged. They're keyed up. Their limbic system is, I've got a fucking fish hook in it, and they can't put it down. Right. And so you can sell them stuff just by running it by them right on there. And that's got to stop. That's the thing that will help. And I like, yeah.
Agree.
In all honesty, there is a value to, there's a starve the beast aspect of it. And there's that starving beast will seek out other food sources. They'll try to come over to other sites, but that still affects Musk's bottom line. And the other thing is, and I said this, there was this, I forget who did the other report on it, but because there's so much of it going around, but there was a report that basically once liberals started bailing from from Twitter, they started fighting amongst themselves because that's what they do. They don't know anything else.
They have disordered personalities. That's all they know, especially those that are trolls. And I mean, American, what was it? The Psychology Today magazine or whatever did some study at one point that showed they almost line up perfectly with sadists in society. I mean, they're sadists, they're sociopaths, they're narcissists. They have antisocial personality disorder. That's who trolls are. There's something wrong with them that they're not getting any satisfaction or enjoyment out of their interactions with people in life, if they even have any. So they have to make themselves feel better, go and try to drag other people down. That's all they exist for.
And if you leave them alone, they will do it to themselves. They will attack each other. The best thing, the fastest thing the biggest thing that tore down QAnon was not everybody like pouncing on them and go, you guys are believing a bunch of horse shit, was that it was such a gnarly group of people and it was so uncomfortable that people didn't even bother, except for people like me who enjoyed the silly sport of it, to even talk about it. And so by backing away from it, because it was so fucking nuts, they ate each other. None of them trust each other.
It's always going to happen that way. Noxious people are noxious people. They don't know to get along with other people. They're weirdos. They're all those things we were calling them during the election. It didn't suddenly change because Trump was able to lie to enough people to eke out 1.25 to 1.5 victory. Okay, they're still the core MAGA people, not somebody who fell for stupid disinformation and voted stupidly. To be honest, I'm not letting them off the hook, but isn't a core MAGA person. I'm talking about the core ones that show up online, that dance around with the stupid Trump flags and all the rest of it. That 30% of them, they have problems, lots of them, emotional problems. Let them fight each other. Why waste your time with them?
Yeah. And again, if we're not there to pick a fight with them and their nature is to just fight for the sake of doing it, they will attack each other, and they'll break apart their own arguments. They will be the ones that find the holes in what they're saying. They will be the ones to point out that he's put a Soros guy in front of as the Treasury Secretary. They will be the ones that point that out. They will be the ones that get like disenfranchised with the Republican Party and all that.
They'll be
let
pissed.
them do it.
They will grow angrier and
they don't need us.
Certain texts and certain things, and then you do your best to try and incite them against each other to go to war with each other. That's right. Because they're also there's different personalities who hate each other. There's different factions, the Christianists and the Broligarchs. Let them go to war with each other and enjoy it. Go and start a fire, roast some marshmallows, hang back, drink a beer, whatever makes you happy, and just enjoy it.
Right. And again, it doesn't take much. Because he is setting himself up. They're already having breakout fights. So Boris Epstein being the biggest one right now. But apparently he and Lutnick, which is kind of a proxy war, let's just call it, got into it where Lutnick was blocking a room saying, you can't come in here, we're not talking about judicial nominees today, and Boris Epstein pushed him out of the way with his elbow and said, I'm coming in, and he and Musk got into a shouting match, where USA, right? Yeah, exactly. And I'm for it. Did that take any of us? Did that require anybody on the left
or
right?
It's a wonderful thing, and it's going to happen so many
naturally,
more times
organically.
In the House, in the Senate, because they're just bad people, and bad people also get mad at other bad people, not just at good people. So let them go at it the way Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently attacked each other in like one of the bathrooms in the Capitol and almost started fighting 6-9 months ago. Let them have fun. Go for it.
Right, and I again,
charge some tickets.
We don't have to be completely hands off, but we have to be targeted in how we respond to these kind of things. And one of the ways you can do it is, instead of getting into a pissing match with any of these folks, is simply to post an article like this one, and walk away.
Yep.
Just
do that. You're exactly right. Post that, and then let them all freak at Rand Paul and go after him. And you have done your part for God and country.
I mean, you could literally just go Lou, and just like post that and go Lou, and they'll just go. They might do a fuck you to you for a second, but the rest of it will be like fucking Rand Paul. And this is the same guy, by the way,
who doesn't. You won't even know they did a fuck you for a second because you'll be gone.
You'll be gone.
See, you'll leave it there. You'll move on, and then they'll go to war with each other.
And then they can go after, and they'll be saying worse stuff about the squirrel on the top of his head than we ever did.
Exactly. They'll treat him like.
And this is a twofer.
Our neighbor did when he tried to mow his lawn.
Right. This is a twofer, because not only did he say the primary one that they're talking about in the It's Illegal is when he brought up that using the military for mass deportations is illegal and a terrible image. Not only does it look bad, it is bad. And he at one point he goes, we've got a distrust of putting the army into our streets, which is. Yes, we do, for good reason, especially Republicans. Again, if anybody, if Obama or any,
it's there for a reason. You bring the military into cities. The military is a blunt object. They are not a scalpel. They will grab people who have similar names or look similar to the people they're going after. They will shoot people sometimes because they hear a loud noise and they're in a defensive position. People
because they're supposed to. They're trained for the wrong job, and it's that has value in a war zone. It's for the same reason. It's interesting that maggots might have a wake up call in this, but it's the same reason we don't want assault weapons available to citizens. This would be the liberal angle on it. The right wingers are like, the tyrannical government is coming. Like, motherfucker, look who's putting the tyrannical government on the street en masse. You did, right? And also, my bigger concern is my tyrannical neighbor who decides that maybe everybody at his office shouldn't live anymore because he got fired, and he decides to be a tyrant in that moment, and he's got 2 magazines duct taped together of tyranny, and as soon as that's empty, he can flip it in, flop in, and he can turn it around, do another one, and that is the tyranny that most of us actually deal with.
Democracy. Yeah, why would you want to stop somebody from doing that? I mean, right? Why would we
Paul says, I'm 100% supportive of going after the 15,000 murders, the 13,000 sexual assault perpetrators, rapists, all these people. Now, this is interesting because listen to the language he uses in this that is different from Trump's, which is get rid of these people, send them back, get them out of here. He goes, let's send them on their way to prison or back home to another prison. So I would say all points, bulletin, all in, or whatever the fuck that means. It's gibberish. Hi, Tara. We see you in the background. Give me 1 second.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. So, in this particular instance, first of all, it's 15,000 for like 45 fucking years. Secondly, the reason we know that they're murderers and they're sexual assault perpetrators is because they have been adjudicated in a court of law and they are in prison, have served their time, and then been deported or are dead. And
crazy that we would do that whole, due process thing and use the courts of law.
And the idea that Trump's plan seems to be to turn these fuckers loose. Basically, if we've got somebody doing a jail, they got sentenced to 25 years to life for murder or 2 life sentences. Trump's idea is take them out of our jail where we're giving them 3 hots and a cot and drop them off in their home country where they have not committed a crime. They cannot, in most cases, a country we have no legal, agreement with in terms of, they're guaranteed to go in prison.
That's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. None of that shit. So they'll just go free. And what's the idea that they come back and kill the people that were witnesses against them, sneak back into the country and do it again and go out in a hail of bullets?
That will never happen. I'm sure there'll be no blowback from that kind of an operation.
Frigging absurd.
Kind of like when Trump let all those Taliban prisoners go, and that
Right.
totally didn't cause any blowback at all.
Before
That was really smart.
before our drawdown. So, anyways,
Right.
I want to remind everybody, Cliff has a show, Cliff's Edge, on his YouTube channel, and we will eventually get him off Shitter and on Twitch. Are you on Twitch as well? Do you live stream on Twitch?
I'm on Twitch. I haven't grown. I haven't done a lot there, but yeah, I right now I stream there as well as a couple of the other the usual spots.
Okay, cool. Well,
YouTube, whatever, and I'm 2,500 away from 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So
there you go.
come find me, please.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much for being here, Cliff.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Have a great Thanksgiving.
I appreciate it.
Be
You
well.
too. Take care.
All right, cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to bring her in right now. Why did this not go in here? It should have gone right away, and I was very proud of myself. Properties, in here. There we go. And paste, and boink, and there she is, I think. Hey, look at that. Now I just got to rotate her around.
Hey, there she is.
Yay.
Hi.
Hiya. How are you? Hello.
Oh, isn't that a loaded question these days?
It is. It absolutely is.
I'm fucking furious. That's how I am. How are you?
Mm-hmm. I am not getting emotionally involved with my emotional state right now.
It's like a detached fury. Like I know it's there, but I'm like keeping it kind of out here for a little.
Sure.
Because if it's here, like weighs me down and I can't get off the couch. But like it's also fueling me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Before this morning, I already made a whole bunch of phone calls to Washington D.C. and left some voicemails for people. That just makes me feel
Thank you, Michael.
proactive.
Yes.
You know, it's important to do that. And we're not helpless and we're not hopeless. And again, we should not just be sitting on our asses watching fascism march into the White House led by a bunch of dipshit tech pros. And the more that I hear people talking, the more angry I get because, you know, like if it wasn't for the Electoral College, Kamala Harris would have won, and that's just fucked up. And I don't like any of this. And again, and things happened last week that made me angry. So again, we have every right to ask for a hand recount in the swing states, and I don't care what you think about it. I don't care what you think it makes us look like. I don't care what you think it makes us sound like. But I'm not the only one who wants one. And last week, this fucking bitch who writes for MSNBC.com wrote a whole article about liberals going down a rabbit hole, being conspiracy theorists and election deniers, and she fucking singled me out on MSNBC.com.
Okay.
Why are they doing that? And this bitch who wrote the thing is a Tara Reid apologist and thinks Joe Biden raped Tara Reid. I don't know why she's allowed to write for MSNBC.com, but she is. And she wrote all of this bullshit about me and another woman, not any men, not the data scientists, not anybody with, legitimacy who have written the duty to warn letters to Kamala Harris, not Stephen Spoonamore. No, me.
Right.
Me.
Right.
She went after me because I guess she has a problem with women. I don't know, but I don't care. What I've been saying all along is I don't care what we look like. Fighting fascism isn't supposed to be pretty, and democracy is an action word. So this morning, I called my representative's office again, and I spoke to a very nice young man who heard me out because we're all on the same side. And he said he validated that, yes, they've been getting lots of calls asking for a recount because every day it feels like we're being punked with more and more horrible cabinet appointments and things that they're going to do and terrible things that they've said and done. And that's where I'm keeping those things, when they announce shit like the lady from the WWE is going to be the new Betsy DeVos and Marjorie Taylor Greene has been... Marjorie Taylor Greene should be really mad at Donald Trump right now, and I don't know why she's not. She never got her pardon. She doesn't have an important new cabinet job. She's been regulated to like the room at the end of the hall with Vivek and Elon doing the Doge thing. Which is not a job. It's not a real job because it's not a real office and it's not a real
it's not a real thing. Right. At all.
So it's again, all of this distraction and Nancy Mace with her transphobic bullshittery and all of these, everything's on fire distractions keeping us from focusing on the real shit, which is we should not let any of these people have any control over any aspect of our lives. And so my whole thing is I just want the truth and I just want the facts. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I won't die. I don't belong to that group of people who's afraid of looking wrong. And I don't know when that became a thing. You're wrong.
Well, I think it's the online debate world that has driven people into that's where you get your credentials from, and therefore, if you fail at that credential, they are able to come after you for whatever reason. That's that's my personal view. Right.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I've been wrong about a lot of things. I'm still here to talk about them. So I was wrong about John Edwards, and I was wrong about Michael Avenatti. Oh no. Mm-hmm. No lightning strikes. I said it. I said it out loud. It's fine to be wrong. It's worse to be complicit and complacent and let it just happen to you. And it infuriates me that everybody talks like it's a done deal already. It doesn't have to be. And here's the thing. More MAGA people are waking up to the tariff thing, which is great, very late to the game. But there's still time to rectify this. And again, all I ask you is do basic math. Look at what you have in your personal savings. Then it's gone. It's gone in a year, probably because of the tariffs. And there was a thing that Vox just put out, and Vox is a good source. Yeah. Vox just put out a video, and so did Wired. Wired, another reputable source, exactly how much the tariffs are going to cost you based on what the products are. So like toys, basic toys are going to go up between 55 and 60% in price. And gaming consoles are going to go up 45%. Games that they put in the consoles are going to go up 55%. Those are big numbers. Those are very big numbers. And that's not even talking about what food prices are going to look like after there's nobody to pick the vegetables and gather those precious eggs that you're worried about paying $4 a dozen for, because they'll be $40 a dozen. Maybe it'll be a you pick situation where the farms are just open. And if you're hungry, you get to pay a flat rate and you can go pick as much as you can carry in one bushel. I don't know. But what I do know is, you know how you walk into a grocery store these days, my friends, and there's anything you want anywhere. There's fresh fruit and vegetables and coffee and all kinds of things. And then there's shitty things in bags. And it's up to you what you want to put in your body, right? If you want to drink that Diet Coke poison and put that in your body regularly, I'm not here to judge you on that. But I'm telling you right now, in a year after Trump's tariffs, walk into your local Safeway, there will be nothing on the shelves that you can afford. It will be picked over. It will be third world shit. And what is there will be this big and cost you so much. And the quality of the food will be bad. And everything... It won't your life will not look like what it looks like now.
Or, and this is more likely, none of Trump's tariff shit will actually start. He'll use 2 of them and then forget about it, and it won't affect these people's lives, and they will just have the same economic impact they've been bitching about in the environment that they're in, because they've been against advancing in the in the areas. They still want coal jobs. They still want regular cars instead of electric battery factories. So they've been pushing against that shit in their area. They refuse to catch up with the rest of the world, and that's why they don't have the jobs in their district that they want, because they undermine their education system, they undermine their public health system, so that everybody's malnourished or has fucking lead in their water, and so their workers are generationally stupid, and they have to deal with that all the time, or they all go to unventilated fucking indoor gun ranges and then wonder why their kids have lead poisoning because they don't change their clothes when they come home, and then they'll look at Trump and go, he's only put on 2 tariffs because a big portion of the shit that his daughter sells and that the rest of his family sells from their fucking bullshit guitars and shoes and all that stuff is all made in China, including his Bibles. And so there are going to be so many fucking carve-outs that it's basically going to be a pissing contest over steel. Well, guess who hates the steel pissing contest? The Senate. Because for every job in the United States that is in the extraction or forming of steel in that industry, there are 80 jobs that use steel. And so if you protect steel jobs at the expense of the rest of the manufacturing, guess what happens to car plants? Guess what happens to fucking like anything like John Deere? Guess what happens to any of those things? What happens is you get a carve out in USMCA, which he put in there and everybody's been bitching about, and Biden was trying to close and successfully did on two fronts, which was the country of origin clause that they're trying to renegotiate. That's coming up in 2026 again. USMCA will have to be renegotiated. And when Trump is saying they want to renegotiate it, we want to renegotiate it, because he intentionally left out a thing in USMCA that allows Chinese factories with Chinese workers making Chinese shit in Mexico to be counted as Mexican workers selling Mexican goods to America as part of USMCA. That's his deal, Mr. Art of the Deal. So this idea that these people are going to have their problems solved by his tariff situation is dumb in the first place. And secondly, his own dude, Bessent, Scott Bessent, I think that Scott's his first name. Anyways, he's his Treasury Secretary. And I don't know if you have looked at this at all, Tara, but he's gay, has kids, and used to work for George Soros. And so, like, I'm just waiting for everybody with any fucking sense in his cabinet to go, obviously the tariff shit is just a negotiating point, which is what Bessent said. That's why he got the nod, because he was like, this is negotiating. We don't really mean, he's not really talking about that, which is maggots, he's lying to you, but just pretend he's not lying to you and vote for him. And we're going to start with that negotiation. Well, if you tell the world you're starting from there, they know you don't mean it. So it's no good. You knew you were always full of shit. So these folks are going to have the same available foods. My worry is they're all going to have E. coli and fucking salmonella, because what the fuck what happens to egg prices when the guy you put in front, in charge of the Health and Human Services doesn't believe in avian flu, thinks it's a hoax?
I don't know, kids. What do you do? What do you do?
You boil everything before you eat it.
What do you do when your incoming government is doing everything it can to actively kill you?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you vote? I don't get it. I don't get voting against your own best interest. People talk about...
That's because you're aware that that's their...
It's
but
your livelihood, though. Like, again, if they're taking away health care, they're taking it away from everybody, not just Democrats. And this morning there was an article from ProPublica, which is another reputable publication that you can all rely on, telling the story of a woman named Portia in Texas, a black woman who died because she couldn't get the proper care she needed when she was miscarrying. Texas is a red state. You are going to see maternal mortality rates skyrocket in this country, but particularly in the red states. And so, again, I ask people, why would you vote against your own health care? Why would you vote that away? I don't care what you want to do with your health care. Do you want to cover your cancer or your heart disease or your high cholesterol or whatever's going on? Maybe you care about growing your family and you'd like your wife to, see the end of her pregnancy in a healthy way and give birth to a healthy baby. If
what
you
a crazy
really
notion.
Want that, then you don't want these people in charge of the HHS, because they don't care about your health. They want you all dead, which is an odd political tactic, again. But if there are fewer people in the country, then they get more shit, because that's what they care about. I don't know why. But here's the thing. I am trying so hard, and no one is interested in having a real conversation with me, and I get that. But MAGA people in the chat, I'm going to reiterate what I reiterate to you every single week, which is, I don't want you to die.
Right.
I don't want you to die. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be able to get up and go to work every day. I want you to come home to a safe environment. I want your family to be safe. I want your children to be safe. I want you all to be safe and live a full, fruitful life, whatever that means for you, and coexist peacefully together, because that's what we used to do. And it's not I don't see it happening like you won, but you're all still so mad and you're beating up on us still. And something just popped up.
Sorry.
And hi. And so
hi.
I'm trying to appeal to you as a person, as a human, not as any political party, not as anything else, but a fellow American citizen who is going to have to live under the same rules and regulations as you if we don't stand up to the fascism that is marching and intending to kill us all. And again, I ask you, your day-to-day lives that you have been enjoying your entire lives that you have fully taken for granted, the way you move in the world, no lines at the gas station, walking into a store whenever
Whoops.
seeing.
Hold on. Back up.
Hi.
Walking into a store. There you go.
Okay, walking into a store, not having to stand on a bread line for 5 hours to walk into a store. We don't have to do that here. Walking into a store, being able to pick up a basket, put anything you want in that basket because it's readily available to you at affordable prices, and then you get to go home alive and no one's stopping you on the street to see what you purchased and do you have your credits and whatever in your stamp books, whatever they're going to do to regulate how much food a person can buy, because there's just not that much food on the shelves left because there's no one to pick the food. So again, your daily lives are going to be impacted so tremendously and so egregiously. And I wish you cared more about.
So here's the issue.
Instead of owning the libs, you should.
I get what you're saying. I understand. I think the vast majority of the chat gets that. But let's tune into their idea about vaccines and the like. Is that they believe that that's exactly what they are doing. That they are arguing for their safety and their better life. They're deluded. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that if you're talking to them about, why do you want your life to be worse? Why do you want things to be more dangerous? They actually believe this is their salvation. They have been taught that the poison is the cure, and that the cure is the poison. And
that's a choice, though. That's their personal choice, and they are not allowed to force that choice upon the world. You don't want to get vaccinated. You want to die. That's fucking fine. You don't get to get that from me.
Right, but what I'm saying is that's exactly how they sound to us.
Yeah, but again, it's
but they're crazy.
My body,
I'm with you.
Business, and you I know you. I'm trying to appeal to the people in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Hi there again.
There it is.
I don't want to control your body. It's none of my business. I don't care what you do with it. I don't care how many times you jerk off into a sock in your basement. I don't care. What I care about is you taking away things that are everybody's right. It's everyone's right. It doesn't belong exclusively to one group or another. It's a basic human right to exist in this country. I know you are. I'm trying to appeal to the people who enjoy being mad for the sake of being mad, or they think it's funny to own the libs, but it's not when it's going to hurt you too. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's what we're trying to point out. And everyone's like, well, you survived the first time. The first time there were guardrails in place to make sure he didn't do worse than he did. There were people invested in keeping this country going. The people he's hanging out with want to tear up our norms and set it all on fire as much as he does. That's bad. That's bad. So, don't.
Okay, again, all right.
Tell me that you want the best for this country when every single one of these fucking jokers is gleefully telling everybody they're going to dismantle society and they can't wait. One of the things that I
agree, but I think these people have been.
I know you agree.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying we're talking about how to, to some degree, we've got to shape how we talk so that we can either be heard or our words have impact. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Otherwise, yes. I agree. I think I think there's an element of rah-rah in this that totally makes sense to me, and it's absolutely how I talk with when Summer and I are watching the news together. This is exactly how we talk. But if I was trying to convince somebody who's on the fence or not quite MAGA, but maybe was in that fuzzy group that bought this bullshit, there are two ways you can do that. One is to appeal to their humanity, which I think you're trying to do, which is I don't want you to die, but this is going to fuck you up, which I think is a valid way to do it. But then there's another group that they are so far down the path, and it's not they're unsalvageable human beings, at least in my level of belief, that they are so far down the path that they think this is cleaning up the world. This is resetting the evil that they've had to deal with. This is making it better. And
it's not. It's not.
I know.
It's not. And I heard something really
thing is the primary
yesterday.
One. Yeah,
but if we're gonna use words that people need to understand, I want people to hear what I'm about to say because I heard it for the first time yesterday. But it apparently came from during the campaign. So it's just one of the gajillion things that didn't get blown up, because between the sane washing and the normalizing and the fact that he's everywhere all the time, this one fell through the cracks. But he was on Fox and Friends. He was sitting there with them on the couch. So it wasn't one of those call-in lazy shit things that he did. But he was physically there talking about dismantling the Department of Education. And I believe it was, I don't know if it was Gutfeld or one of the other ones, but said to him something about the new history. And when we start teaching the new history, there are going to be people who are going to keep claiming that this country was built on the backs of slaves, and people did this, and black people, and then white people did all of this terrible stuff to black people. So what are we going to do when we're teaching the new history and people are still trying to lie and talk about the old stuff? And they are actively going to rewrite American history, and I am so worried about the children that are going to have to be brought up under that, who are going to be raised with lies about their own country, and then maybe someday someone will try to tell them the truth and they won't believe it because they've been poisoned between that and the fucking asshole who's about to take over the FCC, the Nazi guy who wrote the FCC section in Project 2025. There will be no such thing as information coming over our airwaves that we can trust from anybody,
Well, okay.
any radio station or television show or news source.
First of all, that hasn't been the case since Reagan got rid of the fairness doctrine anyways, and Fox ran away with it. And again, I've told you, like I've mentioned this, and I'm surprised how many people don't know it, but Fox didn't become the #1 cable news network until Rupert Murdoch bought the Nielsen rating company and moved its headquarters to Europe. It's never been true, but it gained viewership on the we're number one storyline, which works with a large chunk of viewers. Like, that's how you win over a bunch of viewers. We're number one in whatever we're number one about, and selling number one is how you stay number one. Ask McDonald's, right? And ask Burger King. That's right. Just a huge part of it. So we never have been able to count on that. And maybe there's a certain, Rob Glenn and I talk about this on the Friday AI aspect of this, where there's like a runaway aspect of fake AI stuff or deep fakes or other stuff that we have to worry about that have made everybody so distrustful that even the fake stuff doesn't have the impact it could. We're all almost starting from zero. And there used to be a point where we could argue about facts on a normal basis. And our concern, and I think this is where the root of some of what you're saying comes from, if I may, is that on our side of the aisle, on the Democratic side of the aisle, we are operating from a baseline understanding of a majority of facts. I don't think we're completely devoid of our own illusions. No one is. But we're 80-20 facts, and they are 20-80 facts. And the 80% that they have told themselves to believe that, and this is a great example. Like, I wanted to bring up the raw milk thing, because there's something about buying milk from your neighbor who's got cows and it getting a massive pathogen walking across from the actual cattle to your house and then going into the fridge where you leave it refrigerated until you drink it. You're probably fine. Probably not guaranteed, which is why we started pasteurizing this shit in the first place, which involves, not the least, but heating it to an extent that it kills the pathogens in it, the primary aspect of pasteurization. So and I love this, nothing sums up the MAGA disconnect. Like, anyways, buy raw milk. This is what they're saying. Buy raw milk, take it home, and if you're worried, you can boil it.
Just buy regular fucking milk, you idiot.
Right. That's pasteurization. Now, the other thing. So one of the things that Bill Gates points out in their studies in Africa of people who are malnourished or are developmentally disabled, they've lost 20 IQ points because of malnourishment specifically. So why is that? It's not about calories. We're getting them the volume of calories. It's just that what the food choices that they have available, because they don't have meat, eggs, and dairy, which have a lot of vitamin B and a lot of vitamin A, and specifically, vitamin D is very difficult to get in certain areas of Africa. If you live in a canopied area and your skin is very dark, Your body is built to avoid over-processing vitamin D. It's why white people turned white when they moved north, in large part, was because there was less sunlight way up in the Norwegian areas for parts of the year, and therefore your skin had to lighten up so you could absorb more vitamin, you could make more vitamin D. Because if your skin's too dark, you don't do it. And that was... So in these canopied areas or in parts of Africa where people spend a lot of time indoors, but they've evolved essentially for this environment where there's a shit ton of sunlight, they're getting less sunlight than white people in that area are. And so we have the same issue with vitamin D deficiency in the United States. It's one of the reasons COVID hit the black community worse, was because vitamin D protects you against lung infections. You need it. If you're deficient in it, your chances of getting really sick from a flu or something are way higher. It's why we put it in milk. So we knew this a long fucking time ago. All right. So Bill Gates wants to do this thing where in poor African nations and in poor South American nations, one of the things that they do, because it's cheap and because it's better than drinking boiled water, is they buy bouillon cubes. They put bouillon. They don't have soup, so they buy bouillon cubes and they make soup for the family out of that, out of that bouillon cube, and it just makes the water taste better, right? There's no value to it. So what they're trying to do is, let's add vitamin A and vitamin D to these bouillon cubes, and it won't change the price that much, and make it normal, just like A and D fortified, like we do with milk over here, like we've been doing for fucking ever, because that's how we kept the entire South from becoming Appalachia. That's literally it. The reason the South is not as brain rotted, bless their hearts, as big chunks of Appalachia is because of A and D fortification in milk and fluoride not rotting their teeth, so you don't get an infection that affects your heart in your fucking rotted, broken teeth and your nasty gums. And we've been through this. It's so funny. So many of these motherfuckers think that we've always done this and it's always been wrong or something. Instead of going, we had a real problem and someone a long time ago came up with a real solution that saves lives and extends lives and extends the ability of people. Namely, it adds 10 to 20 points to your intellect to just not be vitamin A and vitamin D deficient in your childhood. Hence why it's in fucking milk and not in beer, right? Jesus Christ, we've been through this shit. And the idea that these motherfuckers said, my head exploded. When they're like,
I know.
Get your raw milk and boil it at home. Boil it. Motherfucker, that's pasteurization. You're just
what the fuck?
Just buy the fucking milk, stupid.
MAGA people in the chat, do you hear our frustration? Do you hear our frustration? We're trying so hard to connect with you, and then you go and do shit like this, and we're like, why? Why is it more important to own the libs with all of this? All of it just feels like a metal shop class got control of the school and changed all the rules, and it's fucking anarchy that makes no sense, and it's not going to help anybody. Because here's something else I don't know if you know. We all breathe the same air. So if our air is polluted, it's going to fuck your shit up just like it's going to fuck our shit up. If the water's not clean, if there's contaminants in the water, that's bad for you guys. It's bad for us. Do you
Here's
think
the thing,
the
though.
water knows
we don't,
who's a
though.
red state and who's a blue state?
In the climate sense, we absolutely all breathe and experience the same climate. However, we do not all breathe the same air and we do not all drink the same water, because lead in water, for example, which is going to be removed thanks to Joe Biden, it'll be probably the single most consequential aspect of his presidency long term. It will drive down the murder rate 7% minimum over the next 5 decades, simply because people who do not have holes in their prefrontal cortex will not be snapping and killing people because they have no impulse control and violent tendencies caused by damage done by lead
But what I'm saying
poisoning.
is, we are human beings. We all need clean air. We all need clean water.
Right.
Why do Republicans want to make sure that most of us don't have that? That's a valid question, because it will also impact
because they would have to compete. Because they would have to compete with them as well. Again, look, we've all heard Chris Rock's bit about black people versus N-word, I'm sure. Okay. That is a carryover of every white trash versus regular white people bit that I did when I was in high school, coming from Kentucky and moving to Chicago, and my experience doing jokes about that, traveling the South, it's the same carryover. There's this forced form of like social interaction that to be real in whatever group, you got to be country, and it's all permeate throughout the South, and there's an enforced idiocy to that, right? If you want to protect your money from robbery, hide it in your books, right? Right.
No,
That's
I don't know.
that's a Chris Rock line, and it fits.
Cool.
Right.
It was not. It wasn't cool to be smart when I was in high school. All the smart kids got bullied, and all the dumb kids were the cool kids. And I'm like,
always been that way.
How though? That's the smart kids are the ones that make your lives tolerable. You should be nicer to the smart kids because they're gonna grow up and do smart things while you stay.
Unless they're Elon Musk. But at the same time, there is a feeling amongst the stupid people that there is this overlay of paranoia. And this goes to what Cliff and I were talking about. By the way, we're talking to Tara Dublin, who rocks. Go to TaraDublinRocks.com and pick up her book, The Sound of Settling, which is over her shoulder on the... and follow her advice, be a better human. I completely agree.
Right? It's not hard. It's really not hard to be a better human.
Oh, sometimes it is.
But I mean, seriously and for real, it's not. And you can make small changes in your daily life to be a better human if you're actually invested in being a better human. But anyway,
I was just making a bad impulse joke. It's like that old I think it's a Jim Carrey bit where when he did stand up back in the day, where he was like, sometimes life is just saying no to the wrong impulse, like how many times you've been standing there talking to your friend and you go, wow, I could just fire off and hit him in the face right now. You wouldn't expect it. He's my friend. I could just, right. And that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, so there is a running aspect of paranoia that is it's baked into the cake on the maggot side that comes from their association with Alex Jones and QAnon and to some degree Joe Rogan. And again, I know I always catch shit from this, but some people cannot handle their weed. There used to be a thing where more people used to experience paranoia smoking weed than they do now, because it was illegal. And so if it heightened your awareness of anything, you're like, fuck, we're going to get busted, right? So you had that, it was natural that you'd be worried about something that's worth worrying about, like, because you stink and people can smell it on you and you got to go home and your brain's alive while it's doing all the other shit, while it's going,
what if my brain stays like this forever?
Forever, right? Yeah, totally. So all those things are happening, and there was a legit aspect of the paranoia because you're like, fuck, I'm doing something naughty, right? Okay. So, and now, though, there is a brand new crop of completely unnatural weed. Let me just start there. In the same way that modern bananas look nothing like bananas used to. They used to be green, look like potatoes, and they were barely sweet at all. And now there are these long yellow things that are phallic and hysterical and have given us wonderful joy in Kirk Cameron videos. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Kirk Cameron banana and you'll thank me when you're done pissing yourself. And but they're modifying that shit so heavily, and yet people are smoking at a level like they used to when it was lighter, when it was more natural. They are smoking the extreme shit like it's medicinal and it's necessary and it's whatever. And some people can handle it, I'm certain. And I'm sure every single one of the people that can handle it are in my chat room right now, so I don't want to hear from you guys.
One of them is right here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, there are a bunch of people who absolutely it triggers the paranoia that it did before. In the same way that in some young boys, it can be tracked directly with psychosis. That's where they built the whole fear point on what was the old scare people straight. like Reefer Madness. You remember Reefer Madness like that? Right. Okay, that was based on an idea that turns out that there's a biochemical reality to it. But interestingly enough, it was so rare because extraordinarily potent forms of weed were very hard to find back then. So this idea you would take one puff and lose your fucking mind was absurd to start with, but also that they would smoke one joint and lose their mind was crazy, unless there was this like massive amount of THC in it and other chemicals and God knows what sprinkled on it, right? PCP and fentanyl and shit, which is again.
And then you're in an ABC after school special going, I can fly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, then take off from the ground, you dumbass. Why test it like this? Did it work? No. What the fuck's wrong with you?
That's great. I love that. No one ever came up with that. Okay.
Oh, that was Bill Hicks did a bit about that. Like, what a tragedy. What an idiot.
No, it's just funny. Like, every ABC after school special about drugs was like someone always jumped out the second floor biolab window because they thought they could fly or some shit.
They never got on their bicycle with a banana seat like I did and headed towards a ramp made out of a plank and 2 cinder blocks and went,
oh no, we totally did that in my neighborhood.
To the moon. Sure. Right. So and again, there are people who need, I think Moms Russo in our chat said weed makes me able to move. It absolutely helps people who need it. That said, a lot of people who don't need it, who just use it, like Joe Rogan, who is baked, I would say probably 90% of his shows.
So is Bill Maher. Bill Maher won't do his show unless he can smoke all through it. So.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem. I get it. All right. K-Link says, Hal doesn't understand everything. You can choose your strains now. I know you can choose your strains now. And I'm telling you, these guys.
It's not the ditch weed you used to get in the 80s when you bought it from some dude behind Pep Boys.
Right.
There's a lot of things that they can do. And there are different levels. You can look at the percentages. How much THC does it have? Right. How much CBD might it have? Is it indica? Is it sativa?
Right.
But it's
and
still
all these guys, the guys I'm talking about.
Compared to what you were smoking in high school.
Right. And the guys that do it are all like, I can handle the heaviest stuff. Or they smoke so much that they go for the higher count all the time because they've developed a mild immunity to the initial effects, or they don't realize they're baked until it's too late, or like there's all kinds of shit. Some people, Salty Sylvester says I prefer hybrids. Sometimes they mix weed together. They'll just have whatever they have, and they'll just they don't have enough of either, so they'll make a mix. The point is,
there's a bunch
these guys will pick the double X, right?
You can do edibles, you can do topicals, you can drink it, you can, there's a billion different ways to consume it now.
Right. And so the point is that there are a bunch of these fuckers, and I would say Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are amongst this crowd. That's not how it's done out. Yes, I'm sure nobody mixes 2 different types of weed into a single joint ever. Good Lord.
Sure, they don't. Sure, they don't put a little hash in there, or maybe they don't sprinkle a little heroin or cocaine or PCB in their joint just to go cuckoo bananas. Maybe your average pot smoker doesn't do that, but someone who can't get the high.
I'm not talking about them.
Might.
That's why I said it's just it's always a contention point because I'm a
cannot handle day smoke. That's what it is.
What I'm saying is that there are those folks that can't, and then they make a point.
I know people like that.
Right, they make a point of doing it, and again, I keep going back to that Mindhunter line that is attributed to Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer, who when they were talking to him, he goes, "We're Holden Ford, the guy from the BAU or BSU at that point, was saying, we think we're categorizing serial killers as organized and disorganized, impulsive, spree killers and that stuff." And he goes, "What do you think?" And he said. And Edmund Kemper said, "I think all the insights you've been able to gain have come from serial killers you've been able to catch." Meaning you have no fucking idea what category anybody you haven't caught is in. Like you can't even, all your categories are just based on this little subset that are catchable.
Right.
And the reality, and from that, there are people who talk about politics in their life. And then there are people who really talk about politics in their life. And then there are people who post about politics in their life. And then there's you and I who just are like, all day, every day. And then we, a few of us move into the live streaming and visual arts version of it, and there's people who are just happy chatting, and there's that mix. Okay, so of the subgroup of people who do all this and start being performatively political, coming out about this stuff, speaking about it extemporaneously, working very hard on these issues because we care about it. Even the activists and slacktivists fall into this. That is a category that is a subset of a subset of a subset of a subset. That does not necessarily mean it is talking to the greater set. And when we have a situation where we only have 60% voter turnout, for example, that's part of something we have to answer to. We have to go, okay, we're not talking to 40% of the people out there and convincing them to vote just because it's necessary. Those people, if we could bring them on board, we might have a more balanced view. And a lot of times it's the extremity that's driving them away. So in the case of Rogan and a couple of these other guys, it is clear to me, you can almost tell by his opinion what he's smoking that day. Because some days he's a paranoid dipshit who can't seem to grasp even base reality, forgets normal shit in the middle of the show when he's pulling up, and when he thought Biden was screwing up the thing about airports during the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, and it was Biden making fun of Trump for saying that. If you'll recall the airports and ramparts part, that Trump doesn't know the difference between a rampart and an airport. And I honestly, I think he thinks a rampart is just part of 1 Adam 12, but. I'm fairly certain that's what it triggered in his head.
Emergency. Remember Johnny?
Yeah, emergency. Rampart. Absolutely.
Rampart. I love emergency.
So, right. So and Kaling says, I suspect that's not weed, House Sparks. It's weed. It's because he does. Okay, smoke. It's also, it might be alpha brain mixed with weed. That's not the point. The point is, this dude is.
It can make you monologue crazily and give you short-term memory. What was I doing? What was I saying? What are we talking about? What's happening?
And you start folding over shit. And everybody's like, that's not weed, that's Rogan, he's stupid. He snorts ketamine.
No.
I don't know.
Mean, whatever's already there, if you take any drug, it's going to enhance it. So if you're fucking stupid, taking drugs is not going to make you smarter. I mean,
well, and yet he's one of the people who believes this. So on top of that, he takes his alpha brain stuff that he's, his nootropics, which, by the way, after I did his show, they gave me a bottle of it, like the alpha brain stuff, and I'm a fan of nootropics. I'm a big, if somebody else was doing brain chips, I would think about it than Elon Musk. I'm that kind of person. And so I tried it. It literally made my face twitch. I was like, "What the fuck?
No, thank you. No, thank
and
you. I would never put
I threw it out.
Into my body too.
So no. But the point being is that he mixes and matches those kind of things. And that in and of itself could create, because I believe personally that like Adderall and Ritalin, which might be great for people with actual ADD and actual ADHD, or at least a level of ADD or ADHD that requires medication to function, if you have that, it takes your field of focus and that's like this, that's way into the periphery and you can't focus on anything, and brings it back to like the human level. It's not perfect, but it keeps it within the zone of, I got to get my shit done. I got to, I got to take out the garbage, and I got to, do some laundry so I'm not wearing wrinkly, stinky shirts and that kind of thing. Right? It brings it human. But if you don't have it, if you don't have ADHD and you don't have ADD and you're to the clinical level that you would need medication for it, I'm going to be specific about that, and you take that shit, it narrows your focus to almost a laser point, which is why kids in university use it when they're trying to write dissertations and shit like that. They jam on it because it eliminates everything else that has nothing to do with this singular thought you are having. It will hyper focus you. And that's my personal belief, that it makes you racist. That a lot of these people that sport fuck Adderall and Ritalin, anything that says, well, obviously not all black people, obviously not all Hispanics, obviously not all immigrants, obviously not all women, it bigots you because it puts on these bigot blinders, because you will psychologically exclude anything that isn't in the singular focus that you are in your belief system at that moment. And so you're basically always writing your PhD in racism, when if you have those thoughts and they're a little bit there, and you like fucking Ben Shapiro, any of these chatty Cathy fuckers that are just they speak super fast, like it's a dead giveaway. they're all, and Trump's the same way. Like, you can't understand stuff that violates your premise because your brain is automatically excluding it, right? So you've got a combination where, and this is the point I'm trying to make, is with Rogan and Alex Jones, and these are the people leading the thoughts of MAGA, and more as much as Trump, and he does the same thing minus the weed, I guess. Although I don't know if they're slipping him gummies just to calm him down and make him fall asleep at some point. At this point, we will never know. And again, but the point is, both of these guys are doing the same fucking thing. They are rail crushing Adderall and that kind of shit, and Ritalin and the like, junk meth when they are not prescribed it, do not need it to keep their focus, and they're smoking the stankiest, heaviest weed they can get their hands on because they, in a macho sense, think they can handle everything more. That's why they drink drinks with X's on them. That's, you know what I mean? And they, stuff that, like Monster, which looks like yeah, bro. Like even their Mountain Dew has to look like it's been clawed by a tiger, shit like that. That's how they think. And when you mix all that together, and then again, this is the subset that is guiding the conversation in MAGA world, and you suddenly, it makes sense. If you're thinking about this, it makes sense that they're like, if you're worried about raw milk, just bring it home and boil it. But pasteurization is bad. You're like, oh, okay. Now, all right, I see where you got that. Okay.
It's just, I mean, I'm so tired of stupid people being louder when we need to be the louder people because we're smart and we don't want to kill anybody.
Hence why I'm as loud as I am. Right. Hence why this is the greatest live stream in the history of live streams.
It is. And, I mean, the MAGA kids in the chat are super lucky to have you, despite their dipshittery, because you're very informed and you're smart and you're just not spewing bullshit.
Right.
Your Joe Rogans, your Alex Jones are spewing bullshit with the intention of scaring people. You are trying to inform them and say, here it is, do with this information what you will, but I'm just telling you, you've been sold a false bill of goods. Here I am telling you what it really is. And again, I like to reiterate this, even though maybe they're not honoring it or they're not really listening, but we don't lie to you. We don't.
Right.
We don't have anything to gain by lying. We really don't. And we don't cheat and we don't steal and we just don't. Because what would that do for us at this point?
Right.
And, if you think we stole the election in 2020, why didn't we do it this time?
Right. Well, that's the part they're running into.
Like basic shit that just isn't a thing, but you try to make it a thing, but it's so stupid. And, don't you see it stupid? I mean, maybe you don't see it stupid. And maybe you want to be lied to because the real life out there is just too scary. But that's what Hal and I are here for,
Right.
We're here to make it less scary for you. And if you just listen, you would hear that this is all being delivered with love and concern for our fellow human beings. Which is why I wore this shirt yet again today. Because I can talk all tough and I can say lots of swear words and bring out my jersey. But what my mother would tell you about me is that I really don't have a mean bone in my body. And that I don't wake up thinking, how can I hurt people's feelings today? Or how can I get under somebody's skin? Or who can I fuck with? It's more about, what am I going to have to push back against? What am I fighting against today?
Right.
What fuckery awaits me? And again, I don't want anybody to die. Not even the people who are doing the bad things. I want them held accountable legally. And not death. Not death, because death is too easy. Again, I want everybody in the chat to thrive.
We're cooler than that.
And be able to buy my book, which by the way, I am almost at 900 copies sold. I am 7 away. 7.
We're gonna hit
7 away. And so
let's get them.
I know that there are good people in this world who are invested in other people having a good, happy livelihood. The Republicans are not it. MAGA doesn't want us to thrive. They don't want us to have a livelihood, but to their own detriment. So again, if a MAGA person in the chat would love to I would have a conversation with you one-on-one, and we can talk about why you think what you think and why you're not actually correct. And I am happy to provide real information from reputable sources that don't involve your feelings or mine. It's not about the feelings. It's not about my feelings. It's about not wanting us to live under a fascist dictatorship where none of us will thrive. None of us. None of you in the chat will succeed. We're done. Hal and I are done. They're going to yank us off the internet. Women probably won't be allowed to read and write anymore. I don't know. We're facing so much uncertainty, and that's a big part of the reason why I think they're overcompensating a little bit with the dipshit humor and, oh, we're on the lips and we want and cry more and be triggered. Again, your water, your air, your health care.
Well, also,
the money in your bank account. These are things that you need to care about. These are your immediate needs, right? Clean air, clean water, your health, your home, your food, your modes of transportation. These are the things that you take for granted already. You're taking it for granted today. You're going to turn on your faucet and have clean water. You're going to walk out the front door and be able to breathe the air. You're going to be able to get into your car and drive wherever you need to. You're going to be able to go to the store and buy whatever you want, and no one's going to stop you.
And
that's the life that you have been taking for granted that other countries under dictatorships don't get to enjoy. And you're going to find out what it's like to live like that, and we don't want that. We don't want that for us. We don't want that for you.
Because blue states will have the money to. Blue states will have the money to push back on that. Blue states will have the money and the available health departments and the like.
Until he stops honoring states' rights. I mean, what would stop him from negating states' rights as a dictator? Nothing.
Well, no, but you can't make California buy milk from Wisconsin if it's got E. coli in it or whatever. California has its own dairy. It can sell to Washington State, New York, and that kind of stuff. And you'll have a situation where you could set your.
It does now.
No, but a state got
what they're going to do.
Yes, we do. And I would argue. Here's what I would say. That kind of thinking is the same thing as complying in advance. That allowing the. No, and I don't want to also buy into this. They're going to be able to do everything bullshit, because that also, I think, brings people well, fuck it. Now they're just going to, now it's the Borg, right? And I think that in its own way is another version of complying in advance. I'm not going to hyperventilate, and what I am going to point out, though, is that when you have states that do not have E. coli and salmonella outbreaks and all that kind of shit, it will be because their state senators and their governors are having to push back against what the federal government is doing, which is right in line with what red states think they're always doing, except this time Donald Trump and his buddies will be at the helm. And that will be the confusing, that will be the wake-up moment.
So much from blue states. Red states don't even know how much help they get from blue states.
Right.
It's crazy.
And if they start cutting,
crazy that you don't know that.
Right, and if they start cutting, states are going to that is a tax break the state will get as well, and so specifically, how it's still a two-party system. I agree. Yes, it is. We still have Democrats, and they still know what the frig they're doing, and Republicans still exist under this veil of MAGA, and you could tell. So many of them, Thune included, and the people that voted for him, are counting the days until Trump keels over, because they know MAGA will not survive. There's no Rand Paul version of MAGA. There's no Matt Gaetz isn't going to move in and become the new firebrand, and it sure as fuck isn't going to be J.D. Vance. There's no personality.
Is he, by the way? He has been persona.
Well, since he's lost two of the push fights, including Lutnick, which was again Thiel and Musk's choice for Treasury Secretary. That didn't work out, and Matt Gaetz obviously bounced out. So they're just they're pushing him into the real. Here's the issue, I think, and there's an article. Let's see if I can bring this up right now. Yeah. This is an article that was originally in, where was it? Where I forget where it was initially posted. This is on the Microsoft network. But Donald Trump won the election. Now he's losing it. And this goes towards what he sold to everybody, which was running as fucking Santa Claus. And the belief system that they have amongst Vance and Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, that they were really elected to take a hatchet to the government, when they weren't. They were really pushed over the line by this idea that they need to close the border, the fear of that, and then this kind of governmental overreach paranoia, the fuzzy zone, and it was a squeaker. It's like that close, right? It was not this huge mandate. They believed that they were given a mandate to destroy the federal government as it functions without recognizing how many people rely on it to survive, mostly in red states, mostly in impoverished. Because again, volume by, black people are what, 7 to 10% of the population, right? There are more poor white trash than there are black people entirely. And they rely on government programs like WIC and all these other things to stay afloat. And the majority of them are either in red states or in blue states that pick up the check because they've moved from red states that didn't, right? And then they end up voting for those programs to extend them, and they become tacit blue voters because of that fact. Okay, so in this, it goes on November 5th, and this is an opinion piece, so take it as you will, but it's indicative of a lot of other stuff that I've seen. On November 5th, Americans hired Donald Trump to do 3 things: put more money in their pockets, lower prices for gas, groceries, and rent, and restore order at the southern border. That would be the primary ones if you list the people, okay, which he's not going to do, especially rent. That's another thing. Rent's not going to come down until you build more houses and you shift zoning, and that's a city and state thing.
It's going to go up.
It's going to, yeah. Trump is not hired. He goes, Trump was not hired to gut the Justice Department, abolish the FBI, pardon the Jan 6 rioters, weaken our intelligence agencies, eliminate the Department of Education, or, quote, go wild on health. Trump's initial nominations, though, Rep. Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, now withdrawn, Pete Hegseth for SecDef, Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Health and Human Services, and Mehmet Oz as Administrator of Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services go far beyond the directives he received from voters. Yeah, it's fucking meme city. And you could argue that these people are... Right, you could argue that these people are a smokescreen designed to hide the real evil people that he wants to put in place. He's putting up this it's like an episode of The Apprentice. You put, a Gary Busey episode to hide the fact that you've already picked the winner for the series, and you're trying to shepherd them through by drawing fire, by changing the background music and the editing on 2 other contestants so that they draw more attention from the audience. I'm telling you, this is, and by the way, he's not the first to do it.
But if he wanted Pam Bondi all along, why didn't he just start with Pam Bondi for AG?
Because she's got enough.
That's who he wanted.
Because she's got enough baggage that if he was the first one, everybody would go, oh, you mean the woman you bribed not to go after your businesses, and that would be the primary focus. But because it was Matt Gaetz first, by comparison, she seems completely normal. And weirdly enough, she's going to catch more hell from the right than she does from our side, because she was one of the ones who was present when they were talking, when Trump said, why don't you just take the guns first and then go to court? Right? They were talking about this like red flag laws she was going for in Florida, like all the shit that they supposedly flipped the fuck out. And he can't see past any of that shit because she looks like Ivanka. So he can't, it's not even registering in his fucking head. She's just a blonde. She's blonde and pretty. He's not even thinking about it. No. But he gave her $25,000 for her election campaign. And then she, the thing was that she didn't go after the Trump University stuff. First of all, there was only one person in Florida that went to Trump University, and I think it was Eric. So she didn't, most of the case happened in New York anyways, and it was going to happen in New York. So other states had a couple people in it because you could do it online, and it was a bunch of bullshit. That's not the big thing. The big thing is that while that was making news and noise, she was, around when the Epstein suite deal was happening. She wasn't AG at that point, I don't think, but she was in the chain with Acosta and those other folks making that shit happen, and largely to protect the financially well-connected pedo class in Florida from their comeuppance. Right. And that's why terrific. And so
that's what our government is supposed to be for. It's like their own personal money laundering, whitewashing service for everybody who's terrible. And that's not what our government is supposed to be for.
Right.
And
right.
I'm so fucking frustrated that people are focused on the wrong things.
Well, here's what I would suggest is that it doesn't have to be the Democratic Party in general, but some Democratic candidate should start filling their coffers with crypto. Just like, I'm raising money using crypto, donate to my campaign, and nobody needs to know, because Trump and his crowd will get nervous about that, jump on him, that person with both feet, and they'll go, well, that's what you're doing, so I guess it's all got to be shut down, right? And that's what will happen. Like, it'll be an all or nothing. Yeah, brilliant.
Great. Thanksgiving this year will be so much fun for so many people, because everybody hates each other right now. So that's fun.
So, Jane in our chat saying Bondi was bought by Trump for $25K. Again, one of the upsides to Putin being Putin instead of being the Ayatollah. And again, I don't think the Ayatollah is even honest in this situation. I think he's as much a hedonist who wants to live, and it doesn't believe the 72 virgins on the other side stuff. He just sells it to the dupes below. The same thing like Putin believes about the Orthodox Church in Russia. He doesn't go. It's all bullshit to him, but it's great for controlling the rubes below him. But he is surrounded by people who want to live. They want pleasure. They want cigars and yachts and hookers and villas and all that shit. And so a nuclear war would put a dent in that. And they all know it. So that's the one thing keeping them from totally fucking the place up. Okay. The same thing is true with a good portion of the people that surround Donald Trump. And the minute that squeezes on, because, again, the head of Walmart, the buyer at Walmart, the lead CFO buyer, or whatever his name, whatever his title is over there, said the tariffs are going to cause inflation of our prices. We're going to have to pass those things on to our customers. There's no way around it. We can't. And again, for all the people who are like, and I love you, the corporate greed folks, look at real estate is the primary one where this happens, because everywhere else the margin is impossible to measure. Both Target and Walmart run on about a 2 to 2.5% profit margin all the time. 2 to 2.5%. They run all their stores, pay all their employees, all that stuff, and come away at the end with 2.5% that they can pass on to investors, and they can buy more stores or expand with. 2 to 2.5%. It's fucking nothing. Like, let's not even talk about oil and gas and that kind of stuff, right? They've hit a floor. And largely because, especially Walmart, that shit comes from China. 70 to 80% of the shit for sale in Walmart comes from China. And a good portion of it was before the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act was passed in 2021, thank you, Joe Biden, was done with slave labor. So the prices were artificially low because of slavery, because slaves picked cotton in the Xinjiang region of China. Let me say that again for all the people, America Original Sin crowd, that apparently thought that Trump would be good for Gaza or some nonsense and decided to not vote for Harris or to hate on Biden for shit. That Joe Biden brought to a close America buying cotton that was picked by slaves in 2021 so that it would stop. And prices went up. Ladies and gentlemen, they went up. The price of a shirt and a pair of jeans at Walmart went up, and the rednecks got fucking angry because the prices at Walmart went up, because they weren't getting the slavery dividend anymore. And what did we do? What do you think
is going to happen under Trump's tariffs at Walmart, my friends?
What did we do? What did the Democrats do? What did the folks around do? Did we crow about the fact that we put an end to slave cotton being sold in the United States? Thank you, Joe Biden, in 2021, and that's why prices are up. Did we say that? We just like, it's the deflation's coming and COVID, and that's that. I'm standing in a fucking windstorm screaming into a hurricane.
Yes, and that's so frustrating.
We're paying an anti-slavery tax now, and we're going to, until the robots take over, kids. That shit is going to either be done by slaves or it's going to cost more. That's it. And so Democrats owe Biden a fucking apology for not
They owe
defending.
an apology for a million different reasons.
Jesus.
That's another one. And it's the corporate media not doing their jobs either, because if the corporate media was doing their jobs, the whole world would know that about Joe Biden, as well as how successful his economy has been and all of the other programs that he's put into place and all of the wonderful things he's done and the way he turned around
fucking
this country after
TYT.
Trump fucking shat all over everything. So, you know,
Yep.
you don't know how good you've had it under Joe Biden, and you fucking threw it away. And the problem is that we're going to suffer with you, which is not fair. We shouldn't have to suffer for your fucking stupidity. That's what frustrates me the most. Is it's not just them that is all of this going to happen to, and it's all of us. All of us are going to suffer under Trump. All of us, every single American citizen in their way, even the ones with money, because they're going to still be paying more, and they're never going to get everything that they thought that they were going to get. And you're all shooting yourselves in the feet. And the problem is, now that you've shot yourselves in the foot, you're not going to have health care to go get that taken care of. I keep asking when they come for me, because they're coming over to Substack now, and they're coming over to Blue Sky, and because we're leaving Twitter, and they can't beat us up over there. Mm-hmm. So they're taking their anger out. Well, I don't know why you're still so mad, by the way. But you're coming over and you're yelling at us, and I'm asking you, why do you want to pay more for your life? Why? And you're like, shut up, libtard. That's not an answer. I'm genuinely asking why, when they are telling you, when Nobel Prize winning economists who are smarter than Donald Trump, guess what? 23 Nobel Prize winning economists wrote a letter that said Donald Trump's tariffs will cost the average American taxpayer between $4,000 and $6,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Just that should scare the shit out of you. Just that. But no, that's not good enough. Losing your health care doesn't seem to scare you. I ask people over and over, the real people, not the bots, because why would you vote away your health care? Why? Some guy was coming for me the other night. He was so into just being misogynist and being a dick, but in his bio, this is on Twitter, on his bio, the first words were girl dad. Really, girl dad? Really, girl dad? Do you know what you voted for? Girl dad? Do you know what you voted for your daughter? Girl dad, do you know? Do you really know? Because you voted away her health care for the rest of her life.
Okay, real quick, just to clarify. You and I, neither of us, know if that guy is a dad, has girls, or is
no, we don't know
even a human being.
He had 9,000 followers, though, so I was like,
yeah, and his account started a month before the election. But right?
No, actually, no. But anyway,
you know what I mean. But
I have a good bullshit detector at this point.
Understood. However, when there's been a couple of studies lately. University of Texas even did a fairly good one about the volume of bots operating on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And beyond the exodus, which is real, and get off Twitter, everybody, off now.
I am on my way. This is what I have done.
By Thanksgiving.
Since you. Okay. So but conversely, we also have Malcolm Nance giving us advice. That's similar, but not exactly. So
hold on, I got you. But what? Malcolm Nance wants to. All that's fine, but he can get Buffer or Hootsuite and dual post on places and do a parallel track and then drive his traffic over to Blue Sky just fine. And he's not going to lose any. He's not going to.
What I have done in with you guys encouraging. I'm no longer, I'm not paying for it anymore. I'm going to lose my blue check in a couple of weeks. As soon as I lose my blue check, I'm locking the account and I'm not going to post there. But I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to keep it locked because I don't want anyone else coming in and trying to be me. So, or they might, I won't know and I won't care. But I'm going to lock it because there may be a future where Musk isn't in charge anymore and maybe it gets a reset. I don't know and you don't know and nobody knows. I'm just going to keep it as a placeholder and just let it not be anything. And no one can profit. All right. I won't
his goal, and his goal, and he said this starting 6 years ago on Rogan, because I just watched like 3 of their conversations to get a grip on what he actually understands and what he doesn't. 6 years ago, he said he wants to turn X into WeChat, which is Weibo in China. It's the site where you pay for everything through that. You pay your gas bill on Weibo. You pay your phone bill on Weibo. And it's as associated with you as your driver's license. And the social media aspect of it is peripheral to that. And that's been his goal for a long time. And he's going to try and advance that as much as he can while he's involved in the Trump administration. Well, I don't see it succeeding because Americans barely trust being able to pay for Starbucks drinks with their Starbucks app, much less everything through a social media site owned by a billionaire who wasn't born in the country. Believe me, there's enough paranoia still left over to stop that. But his goal is to burn down the social media part of it and turn it into a sort of tacit form of PayPal. He wants to borrow PayPal's thing and expand it out where you artificially inflate Dogecoin as a through point. He's talked about this. This is the goal. So I fired everybody who actually works. Everybody's like, he's super efficient. No, he's killing it off because the people who paid for him to buy it, namely Sean Combs and MBS in Saudi Arabia, want it dead because in the Jasmine Revolution, it was how people communicated. Now, and at that point, they put a price on its head. They want it wiped out. And they want scattered voicing where they can chop down smaller trees instead of having one big one that's harder to close, which is what they had with Twitter because it was too big at the time. So they went after it. He bought it wholesale and then is gutting it. That's the goal. He said that's the goal. He's moving towards that goal. There is no reason why he would rescind that goal. And it's not worth anything. And the future of social media is decentralized. And that's what the architecture that Blue Sky is built on. It's built on, and I've been trying to explain this in a way that people can kind of grasp, but your stuff is not on Blue Sky. You have an account on Blue Sky, but your stuff is your stuff is your stuff and will always be your stuff. And if Blue Sky collapses, you can move to the next thing that's open source Mastodon based. And that includes Threads, which is based on the Mastodon architecture. That includes Truth Social, which is lying and says it's built on the it wasn't built on the Mastodon architecture, and it is. That's why it was truth.social. They just took the dot out. Because just like this is bsky.social, same shit. It's built on the same computer network. The difference is Twitter is a corral that he turned into a kill shoot.
Right.
Okay? If you want to use farm. And Blue Sky is an open field. You can leave anytime you want and take your shit with you. And it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. And it's served. You have access to your shit on a server that's decentralized through all these things. And it will house stuff on the Blue Sky one as long as you have an account there. But if you decide to move it, it just moves. And you could still even keep your BSKY address if you wanted it. Or in my case, I went with, and I think, I don't know if we've set you up for that on BSKY, but you should be.
Set me up yet.
Terra Dublin Rocks. It should just be TerraDublinRocks.com, which is verified, which again, you can carry everywhere. No one can corral you, not Zuckerberg, not him, and anybody who comes up with one of these open source things. It's really just how you like to see your stuff and see the other people you interact with. It has nothing to do with where there's no, this artificial fucking, one of the biggest problems I have with the town square idea, besides it being bullshit. I know we went way over today, and I appreciate it. I want to remind everybody to get Tara's book. We should clear 900 by the end of the show. TerraDublinRocks.com.
I would love that
get
so
it.
much. That one time I go back and check that I've already hit 900. That would be glorious.
Well, I don't mean a kill box free event. I mean a kill shoot, meaning in a slaughterhouse.
When the cows know that they're going and they still go.
Mm-hmm. They don't know they're going. The cows don't know. Cows just know something's in front of them and something's behind them, and what's behind them is worse.
They're going.
That's how prey animals think. That's why they have. That's why their eyes are so big on either side of their head. So they're filter systems for grass because we can't eat that kind of fiber. Anyways, point being is that that's been his goal, and now the portability of your social experience is going to get really personal. Now, it is already with Blue Sky, but from this point on, everybody in the world of social media companies knows this, and they will have to, instead of, oh shit, it's like getting off a social media platform right now is like a fucking divorce. You got like, okay, what of my stuff do they get to keep, and what of my stuff do I get to keep, right? But in the future, it'll be a lot more like Tinder. Like you can just kind of swipe right on whatever platform you want, to use the kids today. Point being, whoops, there she is. You're back.
There I am. Hi.
Yeah. It's a different era, and AI will make that even more hyper personal in this, and that's crucial. So the death knell of the Twitter and even to some degree the Facebook methodology, which is why Threads is built on the open system, Mastodon, and not on the same system that Meta is built on. It's specific. They did it on purpose because they know that's the trend. And they don't know how Meta's going to shift over to that. They're trying to build their company on AR and all that other shit so that they don't have to rely on the social media aspect, because that gate is open now. Everybody's going to start running for the hills. And you'll be able to, if you're on Mastodon or any of these other sites, show up on Blue Sky with your Mastodon stuff. You just sign in with that account and your Mastodon stuff is all there. If you show up on,
love that technology for us.
Right.
Sometimes technology actually does good things. Speaking, one last thing before I quit.
Twitter gotta die.
I would like everyone here to be aware that coming up after the Thanksgiving, either the first or second week of December, we're launching a Political Voices Network Substack. And I had a nice meeting with Ron, and I'm going to be hosting a Substack for Political Voices Network with some sexy liberal universe people. And it's going to be a place where you can go and hang out with us on the 3 days a week. We're going to check in and I'm going to write blogs and do videos and host interviews and all kinds of stuff. And it'll be a real destination for everybody for political voices. And Ron is super excited about it. And he also wants you to promote your radio show. I always tell him that I help you promote.
I know.
And across the board.
Right. The House Parks podcast, Megaworldwide, which is bits and sweet parts of the show all week long, cut into audio podcasts, because believe me, lots of talking going on.
There's a lot of talking. There's so much talking. And so
thanks for sticking around.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving. Remember what you have things to be thankful for, including the fact that any American citizen can still call any member of Congress and request a recount. You can do that. Please do that. It won't hurt anybody if we just count them again. Just help. Let's just help each other. That's what Thanksgiving's all about. And the best Thanksgiving side dish, by the way, is what I make. It's the Aunt Fanny's squash casserole. Google it. Aunt Fanny's baked squash casserole. Google that. Make that. Everyone loves it.
Aunt Fanny's baked squash. I believe you, but I'm afraid to. Do I have to turn safe search on? Because it sounds like
no.
Okay.
It's delicious. I can send it to you directly if you would like. But every time I bring it to a new place for Thanksgiving, people love it more than anything. So here, wait. Let me make the heart. Make a heart. Is it going to do it?
There you go.
Yay! Everybody, be safe. Buy my book. Be good to each other. Do a nice thing for another human being this week.
That's right.
You better.
That's right.
See you next week.
All right. Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, there she goes. The lovely, the talented Tara Dublin Rocks. Also, follow her on Blue Sky so we can get these fuckers off Twitter. Everybody's got to go. Out now. You are feathering Elon Musk's bed. There is no other reason to be there but to help him make money. I shut my shit down and I deactivated the account. It is basically in this weird limbo where if you go there, there's no account shown there, but my name is locked so that people can't take it and run with it, I guess. I will, if somebody picks up my name and starts using it and posting as me, I will sue. I think it's wise. Dude's got deep pockets. Why not? If this guy can create bots that pretend to be us, fuck them. Can't hurt, right? Got to go. We're going after this dipshit. So, point being, Arizona sunflowers. Thank you so much for the hug, the hug sticker. I think that's what that is. You're sitting in a bed of flowers. It's lovely. It's a lemon. It's a happy lemon. It's wonderful. How do you lock your Twitter account? Chatter's asking. You deactivate it. basically by deactivating it as opposed to like there's a difference between like deleting it old school. Now they just have deactivate. Deactivate means they hope you come back one day. But since you're logged out, it doesn't show up anymore. It just keeps the name you had frozen, and nobody can, it'll still say that name is taken if somebody tries to make it, in theory. Now, he could change the rules anytime he wants, but right now, if you just deactivate the account, that it should do that. It should, freeze that name in place, and because technically they believe you could activate your account in the future again with your password and your name, and it just stays in stasis, as it were. But it's inactive and it doesn't show up on the site itself. Okay, so that's that's an important part of it. Either way, get the fuck out. Don't post there anymore. If you really want to argue with maggots, go to Facebook. They're still over there, and at the very least. At least Zuckerberg is taking that money and using it to make like AR technology and stuff like that. Is actually trying to build a company that produces things. Yes. Big Stefan says, Hal, is it deactivate okay for now, or do we need to delete completely? I deleted all my content. I downloaded it first. You can download an entire portion of it. Your reposts go away as well. Everything goes. It just doesn't show up. This account is no longer active, is what it says. So, so you download your file that has all your content, your pictures that you posted, whatever you've written, all that stuff in a big file. Mine was 9 gigs compressed, so it was like, I want to say like 21 gigs when I opened it. And then once that's downloaded and I noticed that it had everything in it and was still there, then I took one of those deleting programs that you can get. There's a bunch of services. None are better than the other that will delete your tweets. And you can delete during a period. You can delete whatever. I just gave it the most recent date and everything before that. Just delete everything up to this date, which was that day's date, which is like, a week and a half ago or whatever. And it started deleting all the files on there. It basically combs through the servers and erases them wherever they are so they don't just pop up accidentally. And then once it hits the deactivate or the delete part, then I use delete tweet, which was it's not a program, it's a service, whatever. And it's like $9 a month. But if you're only going to use it once, you're getting off cheap, I think. So there's other ones too, but they basically, where's it? Celestine 118 says I deleted literally everything I posted since 2008. Yeah. You're going to talk about Jack Smith on the later show? Depends on their reaction. A lot of what's happening now is I'm finally getting their reaction to Gates being kicked to the curb and some of the reactions around that. And I got to say, I watched I don't like redoing videos that I've already seen, but I have to show you this Megyn Kelly video that I saw later where she's trying to defend him. And remember, she was sexually harassed out of Fox by Roger Ailes. So you would think, or it wasn't even Matt Gaetz, it's about Pete Hegseth, who also works at Fox. And she knows all the story about Pete Hegseth fucking around on his wife with a producer of Fox and Friends and having a baby with her when he was having sex with this woman and splurting on her at the hotel room against her will and all that stuff. She was there and aware of this when it was going down. So watching her fucking squirm around and try to do apologetics for him is just mental gymnastics like you will rarely see. Just incredible. That said, so it's, I'm usually, and we're dealing with their reaction to the reality. So it usually takes them about 24 hours. When it's on a Friday, it takes them over the weekend, and there you go. So anyways, it is Motang Monday, everybody. So I will see you this afternoon. And then after today, for this week, because it's a holiday week, tomorrow I will not have a show because I have the Ultimate Jam Night. We're doing a fundraiser for Adam Mandel, who has cancer. He's one of the people who helps us. He's basically the backbone of the Jam. He's the one who helps it run and smoothly, and he's a joy, and he's a lovely human being, and he's fighting cancer right now. His prognosis was terminal a couple of weeks ago. Now it's slightly hopeful. So there's we don't know. He's got weeks of chemotherapy ahead of him, and it's a lot. and we love him. And so everybody's coming out to support him tomorrow. And obviously we will be ice skating uphill, putting even this one on because he's not with us to help us run it. And again, one of the sweetest people, just a good human being. And it hurts that he's going through this. It's been, to be completely frank, it's been on my mind a lot lately. And it's, it's another, rock in the sack, as it were, that we all carry that sack on our back of burdens and baggage and worries. And that's been a big one lately for me. And because it's, it's out of your hands. And yet, just love him and want the best for him. So tomorrow night we have the jam for him. Wednesday I will have a regular morning show, and then I won't do another show until until radio Saturday. I might post some videos, but I won't do a live stream until then, if that's okay with everybody. Just taking time for Thanksgiving. But I will be checking in on social media and all that other stuff. And if there's any breaking stuff, I will hop on and do it. But anyways, love you guys. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you later this afternoon. Definitely this afternoon. So I will see you this afternoon. Definitely for sure this afternoon. It will be happening this afternoon. I'm just saying that this afternoon. Oh, and one more thing.
For my family.